Hey guys, Ben here from Velflex. Now we're talking about our heat press and making sure that you're maintaining it so it performs how you want it, how you predict it to perform. Guys, poorly maintained equipment won't last forever and it won't continue to work the same way that you expect it to if you're not looking after it. Okay, a couple of really simple things. Clamshell like this, okay, what we're making sure that if it's got a magnet, okay, that the magnet is tied down and nice. Now see this one here, probably a little bit loose. There's an Allen key underneath that you can get to tighten that up so that that magnet's fitted a little bit snugger. We want to make sure that the metal on top here is nice and clean of dust and any grease or anything like that to make sure that there's a good connection between the magnet and here. That is a number one. It is certainly an issue if you're pressing down and pulling down and it releases on you and it doesn't lock in. This magnet here being loose, as well as scum or a bit of dirt, dust on this here, is the number one cause for that. Guys, we want to make sure as well that all brackets, things haven't been bent. There's a sensor here at the back as well when it closes down that tells the machine that it's locked in. We want to make sure that all the bolts, okay, so things around the bolts and the actual mechanics of your actual pull down are nice and tight. You don't want this to be all loose and wobbly because you're going to get a different result each time that you're pressing, okay? And over time, that locking down that pressure, which used to work, is no longer going to work because you're going to have bolts and things that are loose, which means that your lever angle and lever mechanics are going to work differently. Cool. Guys, dust, dust is an unsight. It gets onto your garments and things like that, especially when you're pressing lighter colored garments or white. Make sure that you're wiping down your top plate, making sure that you're wiping down your machine so that you don't get any marks or dust or grease or anything like that on your actual garments. That's really, really important, okay? Guys, we also want to look at our base plate and our top plate. We want to make sure that the top plate is scratch free and you don't have bits of plastic melted to it, that you don't have transfer liners or anything like that to it, because if you've got anything stuck to it and it happens, you'll be pressing along jobs, okay? And that carrier just lifts up and sticks to the top plate via static, and people don't realize, but what they've got is a piece of plastic stuck on the top plate, and you could be pressing through a job and all of a sudden now your temperature and pressure is completely different to what it was at the start. So guys, we're talking through the middle of jobs and things, we make sure that our press is working properly and maintained. So make sure there's nothing on the top plate, okay? Nothing stuck there, no ink, scratches or anything like that. Base plates, okay? We need to make sure that they're locked in, okay? We don't want base plates crookedly sort of locked in their base plate or like not locked in and it's crooked and uneven. We want to make sure that we're getting good even pressure. We also want to make sure that the base plate doesn't have any divots and things like that, okay? If you were pressing bags or you're pressing some polo shirts that have got lots of buttons on it and you're doing hundreds of them, you can tend to find that where it's thicker in the garment or if it was a zipper on a bag, it'll create indentations, okay? So be really conscious of that. You'll see on this particular heat press, we've got a Teflon cover on the actual base plate, which is covering the rubber. We're using that to protect this base plate from getting scratches and gouges out of it. And it also helps keep it flat and not get those indentations. So this is another sort of tool there for protecting your base plate, okay? The other things that we got to think about is the gas struts in the back. All swing down, pull down machines have gas struts in them to make sure that they spring back up. One of the most important things is to make sure that when we carry this, we don't carry the press from the handle. If we pick this press up, say it was on the ground, it's a great height to pick up that heat press and you can just pick it up from the handle and carry it around. In doing that, that is the number one way to damage those gas struts at the back, okay? So we definitely don't want to be carrying our press around using the handle. Note, the right way to carry a press is from the base and carry it around like that. Make sure you've got two people because they are very heavy and awkward machines. So make sure you've got two people to carry a press. Cool. The final thing that we want to check is just at the back, making sure that everything is right. We don't have any physical, like, bits of fabric or anything like that. Everything can move freely. There's nothing stopping the mechanics from actually locking down. We want to make sure of that. And finally, your height setting on your top plate. We do want to make sure that we've got grease in that, it's nice and lubed, it's not dry, and that it turns freely, okay? Guys, this is really important because every garment that you press might be a different height. You want to be able to easily adjust that, okay? And you need to make sure that that turns freely, okay? Sometimes certain greases or graphite sort of grease, lube, that sort of thing, can actually bind in the thread here. So you want to be careful of what type that you use, okay? You want some there, but not too much. We don't want to over cake it, okay? Because then it can cause problems where it binds up. Guys, should move nice and freely. Make sure on occasions you're turning it all the way up, also rotating it all the way down just to make sure that it is working properly for you and any future operator that might be using it on another day. Guys, that's about it. Make sure that screws are tight around handles and things like that, and make sure that your power plug on the back here is pushed in nice and firmly. Heat presses are often put onto tables. That power plug goes into the wall. Heat presses, as you're using them, inherently move around a little bit. Sometimes those cords can get caught behind the end of your table against the wall, and what happens is the plug pulls out of the actual press itself, which causes a bad connection. That connection then heats up and you can actually melt. We've seen numerous cases, unfortunately, where clients it's pulled out and they haven't noticed and the press is still working, and all of a sudden the press turns off. And when they have a look at the power cable, that whole plug and its socket have all melted due to the high resistance, the poor connection of that plug slowly pulling out. So guys, always make sure wherever you put your press, you've got good slack on the actual power cord. It's not taut to the wall, okay? And it's not caught behind the desk against your wall or anything like that. Make sure that it's not pulling on the plug out of the press. Every time you turn it on, just give that plug a little push in to make sure it's pushed in properly. Guys, that's how you maintain your press. You make sure it's working correctly and you don't have any faults ongoing, and it works every day the way you expect it to.